Hmm.
Today I have with me Akash Chatterjee. He's a 3D
Hello.
environment artist from about 15 years of experience. So I have dozens of questions prepared. For now, we won't be covering each one of these questions in the single video. I will be dividing into four parts. तो क्योंकि लोग देखते नहीं हैं, ठीक है, तो पूरा small parts
Yeah, let's
देखेंगे ना
keep it
तो
short.
yeah, तो
Yeah.
पूरे लोग देखेंगे भी. I'm trying to keep it like 25 to 30 minutes video. So
Hmm.
yeah, go ahead, sir. It's your stage now.
So, 3D environment art is a subject on its own, and I feel like there is like so much in it if you just want to explore and learn. Starting from making something which is as basic as a prop, which gets into an environment, versus making a tree, which is a part of an environment. So I feel all of these come together to make the environment feel alive. And yeah, that is what is environment art. And there are so many different styles nowadays, like right from Call of Duty, which is ultra realistic, to something which is very stylized, like um,
Fortnite.
Fortnite, Free Fire, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically there is so much of scope in environment art. I started off as a lighting artist. I was just keen with my painting and sketching back in the first few years, like during my 12th, 11th. That was the time before I stumbled upon 3D, and then I tried learning modeling, texturing, lighting, a little bit of animation. I felt my interests were more in lighting at that point of time, which did not stick through as I progressed in my career. And then I switched from lighting to modeling and texturing. That was something which I felt like I should create. I want to create things. Lighting is also creation, but it was not my thing. I felt at that time. But then lighting is very important. You need to understand how light reacts to different surfaces. To yeah, basically there's a lot of things. So from then on, I worked on many different projects, um, like AAA games, mobile games, VR. Yeah, these were the most three common use cases of where I created environments for these consoles. I would say in a difficulty level, top tier is AAA. Of course, hitting that benchmark is not so easy. It comes with a lot of practice. Then comes your mobile gaming, which you can get away with a little bit of, slacking. And VR is almost hand in hand with mobile games. But yeah, the most fun is, I would say, casual games like Farmville and Clash of Clans. These kind of games where it's like ultra stylized, yet you are like trying to keep it simple, painterly, optimized for phone. There's a bunch of things to tick. So yeah, there is when I was working for FIFA and Call of Duty, it's like one small thing of the game I'm making versus when I'm working for something like VR project or any environments which I'm creating for phone. It's basically an entire environment. So you need to keep in mind that things that you have learned in AAA can also go in this in mobile games versus vice versa. So yeah, these are like some learnings that I have gathered over the past few years of being in 3D games.
Environments is always a big challenge. There
Yeah,
are
it is.
always a
But
different kind
then,
of things to model.
and every day there are new softwares with new techniques, and there is so much to learn. It's just not never enough.
Yeah.
Because I knew there was this one time when we were making trees in 2013-14. We used to actually model the tree, sculpt the tree, and then retopo it and unwrap it. Whereas now you can just within clicks with speed tree you can generate a tree, which is so much faster. So that's a lot, like 10 years of difference in between that process versus now. So yeah, so you have to keep learning, otherwise you will fall behind. That's the thing.
I'll be dividing this video into two sections where the first five questions will be just the basic to understand the role in more in depth. And the second
Mhm.
part of the video will be the learning part and entry level jobs and all. First question will be like, what exactly does a 3D environment artist do in a video game?
So, if you, it depends on which kind of project it is. So, if it's a mobile game versus if it's a AAA game. In AAA game, each environment artist would be given a section of a level, and if it's a mobile game, you will be given the level. So now it depends on seniority as well. So if you talk about junior artists, the junior artist will be given the most smallest thing to begin with, like probably a bench or some small prop, bottle, barrels, things that are quickly can like does not take much time to make, and it can be easily executed by a junior artist who knows like just enough 3D to get across that one prop, the first few props, versus a senior artist would actually um, will assign these. It'll be a lead or a senior artist. One of these two people will assign the task to the juniors and also doing their own thing, where they are creating the massive chunk of the environment. Like if there's a big vehicle or a big cave or things that are very large in scale, which will go into the environment, that will be handled by the senior artist. So this is how things and tasks are broken down in the team, and then after 2 or 3 days these props will be collected by the senior environment artist. He will place it in the level, and then push it forward to the lighting, and then they will do their magic. So it's like a team based task, and it has to be it everybody is like, if you're creating a wall, it's like bricks. Everybody has their own brick to put. So it's basically that. So once you have all the bricks completed, you have the wall. Exactly like that, you have the level. So this is how it's done in a studio.
Let's continue. So my next question will be, so how is the environment art different from prop art or level design?
So environment art is different, prop art, all three are three different things right here. Okay. So many props compile an environment. And what is an environment? It's basically your terrain, your steps, your walls, your anything architecture related or nature related. These things can be considered as your or better word for it is BG elements. So if you have a character and the character is running through a fort or a jungle, what so all the elements that you see around the jungle has to be uh, the environment art. Then in environment art, like something like a barrel or um, cart or a well, these elements come under prop. So you have prop art, then many props collectively beautify the environment art. Environment art is basically all the natural things that you see or man-made things that you see, especially in terms of architecture. And when all of these come together to make the level, but a level designer will actually make blocks, and he will shape the entire journey from start to end for a player, and he'll give it to the 3D artist. And now the 3D artist has to replace those blocks with actual things. So that's how these three different jobs are for different people. But of course, one person at one point of time they can do all of it. You just have to be skilled for it.
So you mean like the blockout part is being transferred to the all 3D artist team and those blockouts
That's
will be
right.
replaced with the 3D assets.
Yes, so basically level designer will make a blockout and will play it several times, and once the level is approved, it is then given to the 3D artist team, 3D art team, and then 3D art people will be like replacing those blocks with things that have been planned for it. Like for example, I have a table. Okay, so level designer will just put a block there. So I have to remove the block and put a table there. So that's the idea. Yeah.
When the assets will be placed at more at last, like all in one or just is gold parallel? Like
No,
जैसे
it
block दिया उसने एसिड रिप्लेस किया फिर उसको पास फिर रिप्लेस.
no. So it will be like a sprint basis. So imagine there is one huge level. That level is chopped into four sections. So first week there'll be just one section. People will be working on one section. Second week, the next one. So when I see say first week, in that first week, everything should be done in that. At least a first pass. Okay, first pass is done, then moving on to the second and the third and the fourth. Once all the four are done, people will play properly, find loopholes, fix things. That becomes iteration two. So that's how it goes.
And let's suppose the final first part is done, and
Yeah.
after completing and replacing the blockouts, later on someone realized कि भाई ये I want to change it. So
Mhm.
is there a redo process or just
Yes,
push through?
there will be several. There will be several iteration processes. It isn't. It's actually never ending. So there will be art director or the creative director who would come and say, okay, this is now locked and we are not touching this anymore. So there will be two or three people at the highest levels who take these creative calls, and they would tell all the artists and the leads that it's locked and we don't have to work on this anymore. Let's move on to the next section. That's how it happens. So this happens probably three iterations, maybe the fourth one, but not more than that. If it's going more than four, then somebody is not doing a good job.
That will be a kind of
That is be like,
never ending
yeah,
kind of
it
thing.
is never ending. तो वो गेम कभी बनेगा ही नहीं ना फिर. कैसे
Yes.
होगा वो? तो if you have just one level and you
Mm.
keep iterating and iterating, when will you even finish your level 2 and 3 and 4 then?
Now next can be like at beginner level, what is expected from a junior environment artist?
Basically, hygiene of your file, topology, creating UVs, how to texture, how to make LODs, um, how to work with the right units, how to export from Maya or Blender into Unreal Engine, getting the right scale, um, having yeah, basically these are just few things. And then naming convention, like you have your it's not mesh 1 2 3 4 5, but it's like legs, table, chair, well, you have the name properly. Door A, door B, door C, wall A, wall B. So you have it exactly what it says. Don't make it name it as polysurface 1 and mesh 2. Nothing like that. Because today if I am on leave or tomorrow if I am on leave and somebody else is going to work on my file, they should exactly know what they are working on instead of figuring out what is done in the file. So you need to be
Like all the naming convention has been passed on from the studio itself.
correct. So the artist is solely responsible for what they are making. So अगर उसने कुछ कांड कर दिया है फाइल में तो फिर अगला दिन उसका अच्छा नहीं जाएगा.
So if like working at a junior level, so what skills matters more at the start? Art skills or technical skills?
I think both go in hand. Of course, you can't get technical skills just like that out of the blue. It comes with experience, but there should be a basic understanding of how I just told you, like certain things like scale, names, your mesh being very clean, your topology being exactly how it's supposed to be, your mesh count, your naming of LODs. These are basic technical skills that is expected that you should know. And later on, as you're growing as an artist, you will be asked to learn certain things or you will just upskill on the process. So technical skills is that way. Art skill is again how you see colors, how what is your composition skills. Your portfolio should speak for yourself. So that is what your art skills is going to talk about. So you being
Like
hired
understanding
solely.
of lighting as well.
Yes. So art skills is basically your portfolio doing the talking for you. That is what is art skills.
And like, do they look for the fundamentals understanding? Like, जो भी आपके
Fundamental artist,
basic
mm,
fundamentals and all that.
if you're a junior artist, I mean, it's just small things. It is like you should be knowing, but otherwise, mostly there'll be a training of a few weeks or a month, and then if you catch up to it, nothing like it. So you just get introduced to the process, and then you just keep continuing doing what you are asked to do. That's it.
So, like, what kind of tasks do juniors usually get in the studio?
Mostly these will be 1 or 2 day based tasks, and depends on a studio what kind of a game they're making. Okay, so if it is like a AAA studio, now for example, if I say FIFA, okay, in
Mhm.
FIFA probably you'll get the football to make that football. Okay, there'll be like so many footballs with so many skins. You will probably not even model. You will have to just change the texture. That is all you have to do. Now you have to do 10 textures a day. So it is very, yes, it is very different from different studios. Now, and if
Mhm.
it's like a studio that is creating some sort of an adventure-based game, probably you'll be asked to sculpt some rocks, or you'll be asked to create small props like bottles, or if a senior artist is making one entire chunk, in that small little piece will be given to the junior artist. So it depends. The task will be broken down into small fragments, and you'll be given that one fragment to begin with. And then slowly the task increases as you get into the job.
So, if someone is starting today, what should they learn first? Modeling, texturing, or lighting?
Of course, modeling, because without the model, you can't texture, and without model and texture, you can't light. So, modeling comes first, but then understanding forms, proportions, compare everything to a human. You should have a human scale in your scene, and then everything that you model should be according to that scale. It changes from different projects. If it's like if you're making something like an avatar kind of a game, there the humans are huge,
Mhm.
so things according to that human will change. So based on that, you will have to learn your modeling, and then have these small things like loop flows, how the line flows, um, and then basically naming, scale, these small things. So these are expected to be known from the junior artist, and then comes your UVing. You don't hit automatic UVs, you learn how to do UVs, because sometimes what happens is you will be, as a junior artist, you'll be just given to do UVs. Tasks are very different from what you would do without a studio. I mean, without working at a studio versus your own project. Your own project, you're doing everything, but you're not probably doing it the right way. So
Mhm.
they will make sure that you practice UVs only, so you'll just keep doing UVs for 10 days. So things like that. And then once you have your UVs done, you have to texture it exactly like how the concept artist has drawn it. Maybe make it better, because you are going to give the final output. And then lighting comes later on. Sometimes there are expert lighting artists who are just doing lighting, but it is very rare that you will be given the lighting task as well, unless and until it's an indie studio. So in indie studio you'll have to do all three, but in a bigger studio you will have to be doing the sculpting, modeling, and texturing, and just throw it in some game engine and check how it looks, iterate it, get it approved, move on to the next asset. So that's how it goes for
Do your
learning.
studios to have like separate texturing artists?
Not really. So texturing artists, it's called surfacing in movies and
Mhm.
in TV episodes. So there will be people who just model. They don't do anything else. They just model. And then once the model is done, it will be given to the texturing artist or the surfacing artist, who will just make the UVs and texture them. So maybe in Substance Painter, maybe in Mari. So these two softwares are mostly used, and then it will be given to the lighting department, and then lighting will do its magic, and then they'll send it to the comp department, who is doing all the compositing. So it's all department wise when it comes to movies and TV episodes. That in games, we don't have that many departments. It's just one, which is modeling, texturing. Then it will be like level designing, and then there'll be lighting. So it's a little different, but yeah.
Like, what is the most important fundamentals for the environment art?
Uh, I would say composition, color, theory, silhouettes. These three are the most important things when it comes to environment art right now, in top of my mind. I'm sure there are many more, but these three, if you nail these three things, you can actually get away by showing just grayscale models. That's the magic about and the power of actually understanding how silhouettes work, how the light works, and how forms and composition work. Cameras, like how you place your camera to show something which is just a grayscale, but you do it in such a way that it looks like, oh wow, so breathtaking. Basically, that's the idea.
Like, how long it does usually to take a first job?
Uh, it depends person to person, to be honest. So sometimes it can take 1 year, sometimes it can take 6 months, depending on how fast you can learn 3D. And once you have learned 3D, you have then made something which is really industry ready. Like maybe you have made a gun, which is very, very complicated. You will get hired like very fast. So it depends on the person's portfolio. And obviously, when you're making a gun like that quality, like imagine a Call of Duty gun, right? You've seen how those details are. So if you make something like that, and if you have learned on the process and you have nailed it, then people will start, looking at your portfolio and they would want to talk to you. That is how it is. But it's just that to make that gun, you might take 5 months or 6 months or maybe even 1 month. Depends on how fast you can learn.
So, like, when a beginner is starting the 3D modeling for the first time, which type of modeling you should focus more on? Like normal
Mm,
poly modeling or the subdivision?
I think poly modeling is the first thing that has to be understood, and how it works. Um, how do you merge a vertex? How do you delete faces? How do you bring back something which is deleted without Control Z? And then how do you extrude, bevel? All these things have to be like, in the tip of your fingers to do all these kind of to do any kind of modeling basically. So when it comes to all that, so you can just use these techniques to keep doing your work basically. But basics, those 5 6 basic things has to be like very very polished. Like you know what you're doing with the model. It should not be like, okay, I'm lost, what do I do now? So if your fundamentals are that way, very clear, then you can actually model anything.
I want to like ask one thing on top of this. There is also called the procedural modeling. So if you're modeling something procedurally, what is the exact process you should like suppose there is a 3D model which like, there are so many parts. Like think of a Transformers movie. So if that kind of model is generated, so how the texture and UVs work? Because there is a so many parts. It's not possible
Correct.
for individual you are picking individual parts and unwrapping it.
So basically, when it comes to models, like if you are talking about transformer, right? So
Mm.
in transformers, what happens is your entire object or the character is broken down into sections, just like any other character would be. So it would be the head, the torso, the hands. So each individual section is now broken into several parts. So now imagine you have some time to make a transformer, You divide your first week into modeling just the right hand. Okay, so you go up till the screws level, to that much level you're detailing. Okay, now you have divided, you have created this. Now, if you see transformers, they play it very, very nicely. They would play it. So they would have metallic parts, they would have painted parts. So
Yeah.
they would then divide it into sections. So what goes into metal, like painted metal would be like one section, then just raw metal like basically iron or whatever grayscale material that is, that would be another section. Then you'll have all these lights and indicators and glass into one more section. So they would divide all these individual pieces, and then in that division you have like, okay, in my first UDIM I will just keep five things. So maybe in the hand it will be just like first UV will be only till the wrist. Then the second one will be from here to forearm. So then from forearm to elbow. So each chunk is then divided again. So then you can structurally keep making those things. So it gets easier that way. You won't be confused. Yes, so unwrap only this much and keep it
Okay.
inside the 0 to 1, and that will become your first. Then the
Mm-hmm.
next box will have from your wrist to elbow. And then break it up. Basically, breaking it up into smaller pieces so that you're not overwhelmed with the sheer number of models that you have to texture and unwrap. That's
So
how the
basically,
plan would be.
this one module will be consisting of like 15 to 20 sheets.
100%, maybe more, maybe more.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. 15, 20 is too less probably. So
Yeah.
yeah, because they want it in, like you're watching the movie in 4K. You can pause and you can see every scratch. So if you have to go to that much detail, then you can imagine how many maps they are using. And since this is all pre-rendered, they don't need to
Mhm.
care about poly count. They don't need to care about texture maps, how many textures are going. You can just go crazy
Yeah.
with it. Yeah, all you need is a good
Even
PC
going
to
above
handle all that.
4K.
Yeah, yeah. 8K texture maps, yes. So all you have to do is like be mindful about like when if it's the same thing as in games, then you can't go that much higher. But
Mhm.
with movies, it shouldn't be a problem if you have a good PC. That is, that's how it's done.
So my last question for this part will be is what common mistakes do beginners make while learning environmental?
Not merging vertex. This is like not even environment. This is models. So yeah, having multiple materials for just one small tiny object,
Mhm.
then not having the right name, vertex are not merged. Your sometimes you have like two edges going, but you have two separate vertices like this. They're all together, but you don't see it.
Mhm.
Things like that, and then by mistake you have just duplicated the same model inside that model.
Mhm.
Things like that. Then what else? There's so many things I can think of. How you can mess up a model. That is how I'm thinking.
What
So,
do you think about the art skills? Like the basic art skills?
basic art skills like nowadays, I feel Substance Painter is a must. Without Substance Painter, you can't survive. And then using Substance Painter to the best of your knowledge. So basically, using less of smart materials and you actually creating the material. So for example, if you're creating a wood, you don't use a smart material, but you actually try and using all the masks to get the wood feeling, wood texture. So that is something which takes skills, and with doing that you will learn a lot of texturing. So yeah, that's how it should be done, I feel.
Okay, on add on to it, that software part, like is
Mhm.
it better to learn any software or just master one?
I feel you should at least be having an idea of industry softwares which are nowadays used. So basically, for sculpting you have ZBrush, and then to make low poly you have Blender or Maya, whichever. And then to texture you need to have knowledge about Substance Painter, and the fourth one being Unreal Engine, where you can just set up a basic environment, or a studio kind of a setup where you're making probably portfolio pieces. Also, Marmoset helps. So it depends from what exactly you want to achieve. If you want to actually work in games, instead of rendering in Marmoset, you can do it in Unreal Engine, where you learn all the setup. So these four things, three or four things, are definitely needed. And if you want to ask me like why Maya or Blender, that depends totally on the person, whichever they are comfortable with. Most studios used to use Maya. Now they're going for Blender because Blender is free. But again, big studios still are sticking on to Maya. I don't know how long that's going to go on for. But it's pretty much, if you have your fundamentals right, it won't take you long to switch to another software and actually start from zero.
Okay, the first part has been ended here, and we have covered total amount of 10 questions almost. And these questions mostly focuses on the rules and basics, and then the learning path. So in next part, we will be dealing the some questions, or you can say the guidance part, and those
Mhm.
topics will be portfolio and the workflow. So thank you so much, sir, for joining me.
Welcome, welcome. Yes.